You'd mentioned that you'd sat down with one of the perpetrators from was it the Rwandan genocide?
Yes.
How many of the perpetrators that would fit the typologies in the book, how many of these people have you sat down with?
In Rwanda, I interviewed 24 perpetrators. And
Damn.
At some point, I went to South Africa and hoped to interview perpetrators as well there, but that unfortunately didn't work out. But in Rwanda, I talked to 24 of them.
In one night?
No,
or did you in Rwanda?
In Rwanda.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it's a long ass night. How does it feel to sit face to face and speak with some of those perpetrators? Are there any in particular that stand out to you?
Well, I found it interesting. I must admit, because I had read a lot about perpetrators before, and I must admit they didn't tell me anything that was entirely new to me. But the fact that you sit face to face with people who had actually done these kind of things makes it different, because you see how they look, you see how they behave, you see how they tell their story. And most of what I got from those interviews is yet again how ordinary they were, and how they were not much different from many other people I knew. Just they felt slightly miserable, understandingly, so because they were in prison, and the Rwandan prisons were quite full back then. So that wasn't a situation to be very happy about. And they also felt a bit uncomfortable about what they had done. I tackled the interviews not asking them directly, like, what did you do? How many people did you kill? Because I was a bit afraid that I wouldn't get clear answers. But then I told them, I want you to describe the dynamics in the groups, what happened. And then they described what happened back then within the group, which included them. And I tried to avoid saying, when they said, yeah, and then someone was killed, and it could, most likely, they were involved. But that way I could prevent them from saying I did it, and feeling that I was judging them. So
there's something about if you ask someone a question where it's like, did you do this, even if it's a subtle thing, it feels accusatory. But if you ask it indirectly, I feel like people will just in a roundabout way start to give you more information, which is like what it sounds like happened with the perpetrators.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure some of the stories they said of what they saw, that they themselves did that. In some cases. Some cases they might have just seen it. In other cases they might have done it themselves. And
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it doesn't matter. The one thing I wanted to say, what also struck me, is that they almost all of them said, yes, but you cannot understand, because it was a very different time back then. And I found that striking, that almost all of them started off with saying that, really meaning that, yeah, you come here to talk to me because I was involved in the genocide, but I'm not a danger to anyone right now. And they didn't say it that way, but I felt that was the message they were giving me. And I must also say I didn't feel threatened by any one of them, or felt like, oh, this is a bit dangerous, they're very violent men, because I did understand that they committed their crimes in a very different context.
Yeah. Did you feel a through line of emotion from them, like shame or ego or brag, like anything like that sort of connected their accounts, or was it all different types of emotions from them?
Different kind of emotions. Some try to more repress them and keep it factual, or very clearly not showing emotions. But there was one, the only woman we interviewed, she was very emotional, and she was also the only one who publicly, clearly to us, said that she killed a number of people. And
wow.
But she was there. She got dragged into it somehow. I cannot remember the exact details now anymore, but somehow it was this story that she was dragged into it, joined the violence, that they killed or was involved in the killing of a few people, physically involved. But then she felt so bad about it that she left the group again. Because in Rwanda, there were a lot of these killer groups who together in groups of between 10 and 100 people started to kill the Tutsis. And she participated in one of those groups and then was involved, but then she felt so bad about it that she got out of the group and no longer participated, at least according to her story. But then what she felt is that she was no longer accepted by the killers because they felt she betrayed them by leaving the group. But she was also no longer accepted by her family because she had joined a group. She was not accepted by the Tutsis. They were the victims. She was a perpetrator, but also not by the perpetrators, but because she left them. And I must say that made me also feel a bit sad that, of course, she did a horrible thing, but at least she had the guts at some point to step away. But she wasn't helped in any way, like, okay, you did a bad thing, but now you took the right decision. And she was rejected by everyone. And she said, well, and that was the moment when we could see in the courtyard that a lot of these prisoners got some family members who visited them. And she said, no one is coming to visit me. And I found that a bit sad. And she showed real, true emotion. Was that because she was the only woman we interviewed? I don't know. But the others, they showed emotions, but not like she was crying, actually. And going through a tough time so bad that I felt like consoling her and saying something to comfort her.